Welcome into the Sick Podcast with Draft Vogel. I'm John Vogel, the host. Today's special episode, we have a defensive lineman, a defensive line prospect that will be joining us right here on the show. Mark and Gam are not going to be on the show today as they have other obligations to attend to. But first, let's let Shane in the studio, running it as always, get us through and get us started.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Draft Vogel.
With the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, with the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft.
The sickest NFL draft show. It's gonna be sick.
And the sickest podcast on the planet is brought to you by DraftKings. Be sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the DraftKings code SICKSPORTS, just like the podcast network, to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL bet. And we got the playoffs. We got the Super Bowl coming up here in about a month. Get in on the game day action. The crown is yours. So, special guest on the show that we're going to do this interview with, Mr. Cole Godbout, defensive lineman from the University of Wyoming. And Cole, first off, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks. Happy to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So last year, I started this all underrated team. As I wanted to highlight some of the players that may not get some of the top media attention. Guys that popped at me on tape, and I put you on the list as one of my defensive tackles. You ended up staying another year. You played this year, which I think there were several guys that were on that list that ended up staying and played another year. But I've been watching you the last few years is what I'm trying to say, and I've really liked your tape. I really liked your skill set, and I think that it's going to project pretty well up to the next level. So I understand you just started training in New York City, correct?
I did start training, but it's a place called Grove City.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
How's that going for you?
Oh, it's going really well. Terry Grossetti, that's who I'm training with. He really knows his stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to see where I'll be in these next 8 weeks.
Absolutely. So for you, the first thing that I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about your career. You were a Wisconsin kid, right on the border, Minnesota. How'd you end up at the University of Wyoming?
Yeah, well, funny enough, the story starts kind of with when they came to my high school, my junior year, I think, after my junior season. And I was actually, I think, sick, or I was just absent the day they came. So they didn't really get to size me up or see me. But I know they sent a camp invite, but there's no way I could travel to Wyoming just for a camp. And then, yeah, senior season goes by. I have a few offers, and then kind of Wyoming came into the picture, I'd say, 3 weeks before our early signing day.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I met with Vegan, who was the OC at the time. And, yeah, he just offered me. He said he liked what he saw, and yeah, offered.
So you said the OC is an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, at the time, yeah. He was recruiting my area.
Interesting. So were they asking you to play offense, or were you playing both ways in high school?
No, to my understanding, it's like each coach has a region of the
okay,
that they go to.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, you end up becoming a starter. Let's see. I'm going to make sure I got all my notes straight because that would be important. I don't want to butcher this. So you become a starter when you get into, I guess, 2020. I guess you were in the rotation in 2019. You started several games there. But you become a starter in the COVID year. First off, the COVID year, that threw everything kind of into this weird flux, where everything's kind of crazy. How was it for you navigating the COVID year?
It was honestly pretty wild just because I remember they first announced our season was canceled, and then I think we went home, and then our season wasn't canceled, and we came back. And yeah, I didn't think really COVID was a big thing at the time, but then I remember like I think a couple games in the season, one of my roommates got COVID, tested positive, and then I had to quarantine. And then I live with 5 other guys, so like they each slowly got it, and we had to start our quarantine over. And so I think I was out quarantine like at least 30 days total.
How was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. Um, we just stayed in the house, all the roommates, because we all had to quarantine together. So it was pretty fun.
You got through 2021, you started all the games. 2022, you started 7. 2023, you started, I think, all the games again, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that there's an advantage that you kind of have with 4 years officially as a starter as opposed to some of these other defensive linemen in the class? Does that give you an edge?
I think it just shows something about like the amount of experience I have and just just different situations I've been in. I think that helps. Just kind of they have more pictures to look at, and I think your film is your resume, so I think that will always help.
When you start talking about your film, when people put on Cole Godbout, what do you think the first thing that pops off to them will be?
That I'm a worker, workhorse. I'm relentless, and I'm a ball hawk really. That I just tend to be where the ball is. I mean, unless it's deep pass, but and hold on
So
before we continue. It's actually good bow. I didn't want to good bow.
no, you're good. So if you want to talk about your skill set, like some of the things that you take pride in, because I want to get into some nitty gritty details. I want to get deep. What is it that you take pride in as is part of your skill set? The first number one thing that comes to mind.
Probably my tackling,
Mm-hmm.
and then just getting off blocks, hunkering down in there, and just making a play on the ball.
And I'm glad you brought up tackling because you were pretty darn productive, at the University of Wyoming. In fact, you had one of the best plays of the year this year in the Mountain West. Back when I think it was at the end of was it the Fresno State game?
Yeah.
So talk me through that play because it was you guys, they're trying to drive the field. They got a backup quarterback in, and they got down pretty far. They were getting close. You were leading by 5, and then what happened?
So yeah, they were honestly driving a little bit on us there, and we were running. I was supposed to run out to contain because I think we were rushing only 3, and I was running out to contain, and I'm gonna be honest, I was a little gassed, so I didn't run out to contain as quickly as I should have, but which ended up, helping me out because he threw the ball like in between the guard and the tackle, and I should have been at the, setting an edge high on the tackle, but he threw it right in between the guard and tackle, and I just tipped it, and then took me a second to realize where it was, and then I just, I was like, finally, and then I, got a pick because the other D linemen just always joke about getting a pick. Who's first? And it was good to get one.
And you got it and took it 23 yards, and that was the end of the game. Did the coaches kind of get on to you after the game and say, "Hey, why didn't you get down?"
Yeah, no, they for sure. They they definitely all said something about that, but it's my first time with the ball. I wanted to score, but that didn't happen.
No, it's a fun play, and it put you guys at that point. I think you had the one loss to Texas. It put you in the front of the Mountain West. You guys had an opportunity there, with the schedule in front of you to go chase after Mountain West championship. So it was an exciting play. It was an exciting game. And you go back and you look at your career. Who was the toughest opponent that you had to prepare for?
Right off the bat, I'd say like Air Force, but also I'd say Appalachian State. They were a good running team, and we knew it was going to be a battle in there.
Is when you start to study, when you turn on tape, what's the first thing that you start to look at when you study, and what are you looking for?
Just kind of O lineman tendencies, and I'll just first like look at how they run the ball, and then I'll just look at tendencies. Maybe if they, just some like differences in their stance to which play, and just see if I can pick up, find out when they pull or when they're reaching down and stuff like that.
So, what are some of these tendencies that you can pick up on that you've noticed in the past?
O lineman's head being down, or they look to where they're going a lot. Also, they'll be a little farther back in the stance, like a little bit, but enough that you could tell it will make it easier to pull.
Is there a certain assignment that you don't like to see when somebody's blocking against you, or is is it that crack pull? Does that bug you, or is it zone? Like what do you not like to see on the defensive line?
I mean, as a defensive lineman, it's always nice to not be double teamed. Just because it's just one guy versus two. But yeah, so I'd say I'm fine doing them, but double teams, just because you're really just eating up two guys. You can't be as productive as you want, but it frees up the linebacker, so it works out. So it's fine. That's just part of the job.
When you start looking at like techs, right? I think that there's some versatility that you present, as an NFL prospect with the different techs that you can play in. I've seen you play the 3, I've seen you play the 1, and I think I've seen some 5 as well, right?
Yeah.
So is there one that you prefer to play in, with your size and your skill set?
Honestly, I just started playing the 5 this year, really, because they put it in our defense. But I like the 3 and the 1. Obviously I might, be undersized for the 1 at the next level, but I enjoy playing both of them. Well,
Now, what is it when you get off the ball on? Is there anything that's different just from the initial snap playing 1 versus playing 3?
I just say you usually have contact. You just have contact quicker. You kind of, I feel like you're just right on the ball versus a 3. I feel like, the guards are a little further off. That's the biggest thing. So, you got to be ready for that. Just to get the first hit, get knocked back.
Is there a certain way that you take the approach, playing the 1 versus playing the 3 differently?
For sure. I just feel like it's, tighter quarters. So 3, I just know I have more space to work with. And so that just helps just go into the blocks and how you shed blocks.
So elaborate on shedding blocks, because I think there's a lot of people that, they sit in their chairs, drinking their beer, watching the game, yelling at you guys, why can't you get to the quarterback? Talk a little bit about how it is to shed blocks, some of the different techniques that you can use, and some of the problems that you've had while you've been trying to shed those.
Just as far as shedding blocks, just creating separation between you and the O lineman, and just usually shedding them. You could chop an arm and arm over, rip through, or just push them, knock them back, and then just whatever you got to do, shed your hands. That's the main thing. Whatever you got to do just to create space and really defeat the block. And sometimes you're just double teamed. So if you shed one guy, another guy's there to pick you up. And also they can just, all they really got to do, football's fast. I think the average play is like maybe 7 seconds, and they could just disrupt you enough where it's like 1 second and they're through the hole. So it just impairs you from making a play.
Do you when you watch tape and you talk about you're looking for tendencies and all these different things, is there any way that you approach in planning how you're going to attack an offensive lineman that you're going to be facing against?
Oh, for sure. You can look at what, just in terms of like pass rushing, you can see what moves they have lost to. You can see how they set to, kind of have a game plan of what you can use from your arsenal that will work. But yeah, you can watch other games that they've had, and what moves has found success against them and what moves haven't, and just how they get off, how they run their plays. You can just see it. You can really see all that.
What do you think is the finest game plan that you've put together to take up against somebody in the last couple of years?
Like my best performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think BYU is a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Really good game. I thought Toledo was a really good game, honestly speaking.
Last game, yeah. Bowl game.
Yeah.
Pulled off the comeback win too. Offense helped out a little bit.
Yeah, no, that was good. Or Air Force 2022. That could be my best game.
Now, one of the games I liked watching from you, and you might roll your eyes when I say it, I don't know, but it was Illinois 2022. I believe that was a season opener for you guys that year.
Yeah.
Illinois, that was a fun one because you had a bunch of offensive linemen on that line that were going to go play at the next level. And I think a couple of them were draft picks, and I think one of them maybe a draft pick this year that was on that line. And so I knew it was going to be a good test for you, because as an evaluator, I'm going to look at you and say, okay, what can you do? I need to see against the better talent. I need to see against guys that are going to play, because now I'm going to see what I have a picture of what that's going to look like a little bit. And I thought you played really well in that game too. Like the Illinois game, the stats were good. You had several tackles. You may have had a sack. I can't remember if you did or not, but I just remember you being disruptive and being up in there.
Yeah.
So what about so if you go back to that Air Force game 2022, what about that made what about it made your best? Made it. I'm stumbling in my words. Made it your best performance.
Just impact, pursuit to the ball. Pressure on the quarterback, and I don't know, just because they're our rival, really. I don't think they like to say that. Just I don't know. There's
because they're Air Force and they got Army and Navy. Yeah. So, is your training right now? What's the big thing that you're working on this all season? What are you trying to add to the tool belt per se?
I'm just trying to lean out a little bit. Gain a little bit of weight, but really just transform my body and just kind of running mechanics, and just getting stronger.
So when you say running mechanics, are we talking like 40-yard dash kind of running mechanics?
Shuttles, all that.
So combine prep, getting ready, or I guess pro day prep. Yeah, gotcha. Last question that kind of comes to my head. And this is from Jarvis, who couldn't be here, and he wanted me to ask about this. Small school to big city. What is that transition going to look like for Cole Godbout?
You there?
Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, I got you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Question from
so,
Jarvis.
yeah, so Jarvis couldn't be here, wanted me to ask you this question. Small school to big city. What does that transition look like for Cole Godbout?
Like small city. Wait, did you say small
school? Yeah, small school to big city.
Are you talking like Laramie or where I'm at now?
Laramie. Yeah, Laramie.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say Laramie's too big, but honestly, it's kind of like my atmosphere here. It allows me to lock in, and there's not as many distractions with it being where it was in Laramie, which I love it. Honestly, I lived there for 5.5 years. Became a second home to me, and it's sad. It's sad that my time's there's done, but it was time. But yeah, sorry, I kind of went off there, but did that answer your question?
Sure, we'll roll with it.
Okay, sorry.
We'll roll with it, Cole. No, it's all good, dude. So yeah, you look like you're exhausted. Like training is getting to you a little bit.
Yeah,
it's an early part of the process. Good luck to you through it. Because it is a long process. With all the things that happen through it, the craziness, the questions that you're going to get asked are going to be nuts if you hadn't heard about them already. When you start talking with some NFL scouts and stuff, those conversations can be wild. So just don't ride the roller coaster, dude. Just stay mellow, stay all the way through it.
All right, sounds good. No, I know I gotta for sure be ready for what they gotta ask. I know they go pretty in depth with just your knowledge of the defense.
Well, it's not even that. You're probably gonna get crazy questions. They're not even gonna be about defense. It's not gonna be about football.
Yeah.
No, anyways, cool. I'm glad that you were able to take the time to join me on the show. And I think I hope the process goes really well for you, dude, because it's gonna be a long stretch. And it's great. It's a grind. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the effort. And we're gonna catch up with you later if you need anything through the process. You can hit me up.
Yeah, man. And thanks for having me on tonight. You've been rooting for me for a while now, and I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course. Obviously. No problem. Shane, let's get out of here.
All right, you guys have a good one.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Draft Vogel on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.